Hey guys, it's Mason, and this is Wrestling in the Dark, the only wrestling and review recap show brought to you by a blind fan, as far as I know. It's time to take a look at NXT 503. What happened? How good was it? If you want to find out, stick with me as I take a look through this week's NXT and see how it all panned out. Kicking off the show, we had the Forgotten Sons Jackson Ryker versus Humberto Koreo. This was an alright match. It wasn't particularly groundbreaking, but it showed off Humberto Koreo's skills in the early moments. He pulled off a springboard roundhouse kick. That was really nice. He also got a head scissors takedown and then a springboard back elbow. Jackson Ryker was really taking it to him, especially focusing on his face, because the commentary was putting over how good looking Humberto Koreo was, those GQ looks, and so Ryker was just using his offense to go straight to that. Those were the only real things of note from Humberto Koreo. He was just showing off that athletic style while Ryker was keeping him grounded and using his aggression. Eventually, the tides turned. Ryker got Carrillo in the Tree of Woe and he was beating his chest. He hit the Widowmaker on him, but Humberto Koreo rolled out of the ring. And after that, the Forgotten Sons just sort of mauled him and they got the DQ. I like Ryker. There's something that I really am sort of drawn to. I don't mind this Forgotten Sons gimmick. I know that a lot of people are just like, I don't know what this is about, and I don't really have any clue what they are character-wise, but I like the theme, and they always put Ryker over as having this, like, unbridled fury, so that's always fairly interesting to listen to. Like I said, Forgotten Sons maul Carrillo on the outside when Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan make the save, or try to, but eventually it just leads to sort of a stare down sort of thing. I thought that it was actually a pretty good way to kick off the show, but it never really got me truly excited. I think Humberto Koreo, the more he shows off, the more I'll get into him, but at the minute there's nothing really there that drags me in. I was sort of rooting for the Forgotten Sons at this point, and luckily they did come out sort of on top of this, and that's all that was really to be said about that. I give it a strong 4. Thought it was a good way to kick off the show, and some decent little spots, but nothing groundbreakingly special. Next up, we got an Adam Cole interview backstage where he was talking about the fact that Gargano was not man enough to face the leader of Undisputed Era, and that's why he'd gone for Roderick Strong. Then he sort of made it sound like he was on the same page as Roddy, because he said that Roddy was going to do the exact same thing that he would do, and that's beat up Johnny Gargano to a pulp. And then I could sort of hear this sniggering going on in the background, and I really liked that. I was instantly like, "Oh, what's going on?" Adam Cole was like, "Why are you even laughing at? Why are you here?" And it appears that it's that it's Matt Riddle just waiting to take his spot next in the photo shoots, and he's sort of overheard what Adam Cole's going on about and finds it really, really funny. He's just standing there sniggering, and Cole goes up and he's like shouting at him like, "Why are you even here?" Riddle's like, "Bro, I'm just next on the photo shoot." And then he says that he's never seen anyone more jealous than what Adam Cole is of Roderick Strong for taking on Johnny Gargano tonight. And I really liked that. It was just this whole segment was pretty good, really. It felt quite natural. Cole was as natural as a backstage interview can anyway, but Cole was like just going through that interview. Then Riddle was just in the background and Cole got distracted by it, and it felt really natural, like a little universe. And then Riddle sort of piles onto the let's try and mess up Undisputed Era bandwagon, like driving the wedge between Cole and Strong, jumping latching on to the fact that Gargano's doing it too. And I really like that. Just, it makes it feel like Undisputed Era have got a few enemies rather than just Gargano. Riddle still comes across as that chill sort of guy. And it all worked really well for me. Like I said, I thought it felt really natural and not as set up as some of these segments sometimes do. I really, really enjoyed it, like I said. Some women's tag team action up next. Last week, Aaliyah and Vanessa Bourne challenged Candice Lorey to go and find a tag team partner so they could have a match this week, so that's what we got now. It was Aaliyah and Vanessa Bourne versus Candice LeRae and Kacy Catanzaro. And when they announced that, I was like, oh, now there is a team that I think could be quite exciting. I've heard so many good things about Candice LeRae. I've seen a little bits and bobs from Kacy Catanzaro over the last few months that have made me be like, okay, I'm interested to see where she goes with this. So when they were the team, I was like, yeah, that's a really interesting team that I actually hope they keep together, and I do hope they keep them together. I think that'd be a really interesting addition to that women's tag team scene. But this match was just not. It wasn't anything. It really never dragged me in. I didn't hate it because there was some okay parts to it, but for the most part, the commentary was really, really lazy during this match. They had real main rosteritis. There was just a lot of things that they were saying that I was like, what? So to start the match, Aaliyah and Kacy Catanzaro were in the ring, and Morrow calls that Aaliyah is showing off American Ninja Warrior-esque skills, and I was like, what? What's she doing? He never really explained that. At one point he said that Vanessa Bourne and Aaliyah were really taking the fight to Kacy Catanzaro, and I was like, by doing what? Kacy Catanzaro pulled out a somersault axe kick, which sounded pretty entertaining. I love them sort of things. I love a good axe kick. Add a somersault onto that, and I'm not going to complain about that at all. But there was no glue to this. There was no story. There was no real tag team chemistry from either team. Really, I didn't feel like there was. Even Candice didn't really seem. I like it when in a tag team when the other partner that's not in is like either talking trash to the opponents or encouraging their team partner. And I didn't hear Candice or Kacy shout once during this match, and that was a little bit frustrating. Towards the end of the match, there was a double team suplex attempt from Bourne and Aaliyah, but Catanzaro landed on her feet and she delivered some double neck breakers, and then she got the hot tag to Candice. Candice came in. She hit like a drop kick and then a baseball slide. She hit a snapmare and a jawbreaker, and then she hit some sort of move for the finish and picked up the win. I don't think it made Catanzaro look too good. I don't think it made Candice look that good because it didn't really seem like she had to try that hard to beat Bourne and Aaliyah, which makes them two look pretty shit. And I just really didn't click with this match at all, and it's disappointing because to start with, Bourne and Aaliyah are pretty good with the promo skills. I don't know what the in-ring acumen is like, but from a promo standpoint, they're all right. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And then, like I said, Candice and Kacy Catanzaro together, I thought, oh, that's a really interesting team, and I still do. I just hope they get a little bit more of an opportunity than this because it just sort of fell flat for me, and I gave it a 2 out of 6. Kathy Kelly was backstage next with Io Shirai and asked her about Shayna Baszler. Io was about to start talking about it when she was jumped by an unnamed force, and obviously I can put 2 and 2 together and work out who this is, but it was sort of ridiculous that they never actually explained it. It's like, is she in a horror film? Was she jumped by ghosts? Did Kathy Kelly attack her? Imagine that. imagine Kathy Kelly just like, shut up, Io, and just starts attacking her. But yeah, obviously she was jumped probably by either Shayna and the Horsewomen, or some combination of that stable. But like I said, I just thought it was really, really ridiculous that they never explained that at all. So in my head, it was Io being attacked by unnamed force. And then it was a recap of the Kushida signing. Like these little, I like the showing this over and over again, even though I've seen it. Ooh, blimey, that was a big old thunderclap. It's still going on now. I'm recording this in the middle of a thunderstorm. Obviously, the thunderstorm's outside. But yeah, that's completely knocked me off my game. But yeah, anyway, I like that they're showing these Kushida things over and over again. It's making him seem like a really big deal. Then Regal gets asked about it, presumably in his office, and he's sort of talking about how excited he is about Kushida coming in, when he's interrupted by the wrestling genius Cassius Ohno. And this was a really good exchange. Regal, I'm not sure whether he was being sarcastic or not, but he seemed really sort of pleased to see Cassius Ohno. He comes in, he thanks Regal for giving him the opportunity to go over to NXT UK and show those British wrestlers the true, authentic European British wrestling style. Love that he's carrying that over. He's got such a charisma to him that he really believes everything that he's saying, and I really like that. It makes him come across as so obnoxious. Then he says, who better to put against Kushida in his first match than the wrestling genius himself? Who's going to be better at doing that Japanese style than him? And Regal agrees that he's a wrestling genius and says, okay, fine, and puts him in a match against Kushida next week in Kushida's debut. That should be really cool. I really like that Cassius Ohno is just everywhere. He's just like, I'm the best wrestler. I know all these different styles. I'm just gonna go and fight anyone who comes in. This is my place. I don't know. I like it. I think he's got a good place at the minute, Cassius Ohno. He might not be on his way up to main anytime soon, but he's on both brands. He's putting on high profile matches. He's about to wrestle Kushida, and I think that's just a pretty good position for him, really. I think if I was him, I'd be happy. I don't think I'd want to go anywhere else, because I just think that it's a pretty cool position that he's in. The Street Profits versus NXT Tag Team Champions, the War Raiders, still being called that down in NXT at the minute, and there's another thunderclap, and I don't know if that's going to get picked up or not, but this was a really high octane, intense match. To start off with, the War Raiders are coming out. I love that War Raiders entrance. There's such a vibe to it. You got the a couple of times before the actual music kicks in, and with all the crowd doing the war, it just feels like something is coming, and I really, really enjoyed it. Then it gets started really, really fast, because as the War Raiders are making their way down to the ring, Ford just decides, screw it, I'm not waiting for the match to start, and he really tries to take it to the War Raiders. The Street Profits just come out of the gate really, really fast, taking it to the War Raiders. When the match gets started, it's still just like that. They're really trying to take down Hanson for quite a lot of this. Ford was sort of the star of the match here, really, because he seemed to at least be the one that I noticed was doing stuff for the most part in the match. He was really utilising sort of clever offence and trying to get Hanson down, but they were really selling it that Hanson just wasn't going down. At one point he was forearming the crap out of I was going to call him Rowan then, that's just that's a sign of things, isn't it? But yeah, Hanson just would not go down with these forearms. Eventually, Ford hit a running drop kick, and that took him down to one knee. But eventually, Hanson ended up hitting a belly-to-back suplex, but Ford kicked up, and I liked that. That was a really nice little spot, as well as Ford ducking a spinning back kick from Hanson as well. Eventually, though, the tides did turn. Hansen started utilising that fast and agile offense that he has with the springboard back elbows and not springboard, handspring back elbows, sorry, and stuff like that. He hits the shotgun drop kick, and in the end, they get the Thor's hammer on Ford, and the match is over. Dawkins was just sort of a non-factor in this match, or at least not one that I particularly noticed. The only thing in my notes that I have of Dawkins is Rowe body slamming Hansen onto him. So maybe he just got taken out earlier in the match and I didn't notice it. But it was, like I said, this was actually a fairly decent match to watch. I really thought that the Street Profits might actually get this like surprise win, because they were coming out with like such aggression that I wasn't expecting the War Raiders to have anticipated it, and I thought maybe they actually might get a win here, especially with the War Raiders presumably on the way out of the door in the next month or two. So it was like I say, it was quite believable, and I think that the Street Profits will be really good tag team champs at some point. I'm not sure whether I think that they'll be the ones to actually take it from the War Raiders, but you know what, last week I wouldn't have said that that's what I'd want. This week, after this match, I actually think that they could probably do a believable match and have them take it off them, and I would actually believe it. So I haven't spoke about all of the good things in this match, but there was definitely some stuff that you really need to check out here, and I really enjoyed it. So it's a 5 out of 6 match. And finally, in the main event, it was Johnny Gargano versus Roderick Strong of the Undisputed Era. I really liked this match. I think that I'm really going to enjoy Johnny Gargano's time as champion, especially with him feuding with the Undisputed Era, because they're so good at what they do. I just instantly wanted Johnny to win this match when he was coming out. But I was also really into Roderick Strong, and it's really interesting the way that they're going with the Undisputed Era thing, with him sort of being pushed out and Cole getting jealous of him. It just makes him an intriguing character, because he's a heel, but you sort of have sympathy for him because his friends are sort of turning on him, and he hasn't actually done anything wrong, but one of his friends is all jealous of him, and he's all up inside his own head because Gargano's been playing mind games with him, and I really, really like that dynamic. But the in-ring action did not disappoint in this match at all. It started off early with that chain wrestling. Both men just knew what each other was thinking, what they were going to do. They were countering each other loads. Gargano went for the Gargano escape, but Roddy rolled him up for a near fall. There was a really, really brutal spot for me where Roderick Strong got Gargano up in the wheelbarrow and a half Nelson suplex on the apron, which must have hurt. That just must hurt. And then there was just back and forth action. Gargano was trying to piss Roderick Strong off so that he'd tire himself out, and it was sort of working, because Roderick, each time he'd give him a little chop or a slap or whatever, Roddy would get all worked up and start taking the offensive to Gargano. But Gargano obviously is inhuman and can just soak up all this offense, so that's just what he was doing. He was just like, right, tire yourself out on me, which did seem to work, to be fair. There was another wheelbarrow attempt from Roddy on the outside, but Gargano countered and sent him into the ring steps. Gargano went for a wrecking ball drop kick and missed, but then hit a cannonball off the apron. Roderick Strong was getting Gargano in submissions, utilising that rope 5 count to try and increase the pressure. There was a really nice sequence that I thought was really nicely done, was incredible, and I just could not write it all down. But essentially, Gargano went for some sort of running kick, and Roddy reversed it with an Olympic slam, but Gargano then countered that with a running with a knee or a kick to the face, and then there was a knee strike, and then Gargano went for the slingshot spear, but Roderick Strong got the butterfly suplex backbreaker, and I was just like, that was an impressive chain of moves that I wish that I could have written it all down and written it in the correct order, because it was called really, really well. It was a really nice sequence, and it really built up how much people want that NXT championship. God, it's hard to keep all of this sort of stuff straight when you get into a match like this. Keeping all those notes straight, all those spots straight in my head is so difficult. Towards the end of the match, though, Gargano goes for the Gargano escape, and Adam Cole comes running down, as do the rest of the Undisputed Era, shortly followed by Matt Riddle for some reason. I'm not really sure why, just having a little watch, I guess, like us, like all of us, like just enjoying the drama. There's a bit of a foray, and in the confusion, Adam Cole kicks Roderick Strong in the head, and then there's a bit of an argument, and Gargano ends up picking up the win, and then Roderick Strong sort of just brushes it off, and he's like, "Nah, it's okay, don't worry about it, let's just go. So the descent between the Undisputed Era continues, and I'm really interested to see where they go now, because there's just, I've said it before, I love faction drama, and I can't wait to see whether Roddy tries to step up and take the Undisputed Era from Adam Cole, or whether Adam Cole pushes him out, or just whether they completely break up. There's so many different ways they could go, and it really paid off for Johnny playing those little mind games, because it's proper driven a wedge between the Undisputed Era, and I just really enjoying this main event storyline. This match was really, really good. I'm sure that I missed spots out. I'm sure that I didn't note down everything, because there's just, in a match like this, with competitors like this, there's always moves that I miss, or that I can't write down before there's something else. But it was a really, really fantastic match. I really enjoyed it, and it could have easily been, a takeover match or anything like that. So I can never really complain with these strong main event matches. I really, really enjoyed it, and I gave it a 5 out of 6. So what will be next for the Undisputed Era? That is what I want to know. What do you think will be next? I'd like to know that too. Leave me a comment. All in all, it was around a 4 out of 6 episode of NXT this week. I enjoyed the opening match. I was disappointed by the women's tag team. I enjoyed Street Profits versus the War Raiders. I really enjoyed the main event, but it was really killed for me by that middle segment with the women's tag. It disappointed me, and I felt like it really damaged the momentum of the whole show. I feel like it probably could have been a 5 out of 6 show if that match had been a little bit better. But what do you think of this week's NXT? I would love to know. Leave me a comment in the section down below, and we'll get a conversation started. We'll be friends. If you've liked what you've heard, remember to hit that like button. It goes a long way, and I really appreciate it. It shows me that I'm doing something right, I guess. And if you want to stay up to date with all of my episodes, hit that subscribe button, hit the notify bell, and you'll never miss an episode of Wrestling in the Dark. Right, guys, I'm off, and you should have a good one.